Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something that honestly is at the core of how we think about success, about money, about our entire lives. We're digging into a really provocative question that came up again and again in the source material we looked at. And it's this: why do millions of smart, capable people work incredibly hard every single day? I mean, truly grinding it out, and yet stay financially stuck?
While at the same time, you see this other, much smaller group achieving just massive wealth, and it doesn't always look like they're struggling nearly as much.
Exactly. It's a huge paradox, isn't it? We're all raised on this idea, this mantra: work hard and you'll succeed.
It's the foundational promise of the modern world.
Yeah.
But the data, the anecdotes, the reality we see around us, it suggests that simple equation is broken, or at the very least, it's missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
I mean, you see the examples everywhere. Think about the hardest working people you can imagine: teachers, nurses, truck drivers, construction workers. These are demanding jobs.
Physically and mentally demanding? Absolutely. They are the textbook definition of hard work. But if you look at the financial outcomes, there's a very clear, very low ceiling for most of them.
And then you contrast that with, a creator on a laptop who builds an audience, or a software developer who writes a great piece of code, or an investor who structures a deal.
And their financial impact is exponential. That contrast, that's what brings us to the core premise of this deep dive. And it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people.
Which is?
That hard work, by itself, is actually a terrible strategy for building wealth in today's economy.
Okay, so let's unpack that, because it sounds almost wrong to say. We have to look at the history here. The rules of the game have changed, right?
It's completely changed.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about a fundamental shift from the industrial age to what we now call the knowledge economy.
And in the industrial age, the old rules worked perfectly.
They did. Because the economy was built on physical constraints. Factories needed hands on a production line. Output was directly tied to hours clocked in physical labor. So, your effort, your hard work, was a really good proxy for the value you were creating.
You put in 8 hours of solid work, you got a fair day's pay. There was a clear, predictable path.
A very clear social contract. Your time and your sweat guaranteed a decent life, a home, a pension. It was a system that rewarded consistency and endurance.
But that contract is void now.
It's been radically rewritten. In the knowledge economy, the main constraints aren't physical anymore. They're conceptual. We operate with ideas, with data, with code, with systems.
So wealth isn't about effort anymore. It's about what?
It's about impact.
Yeah.
And scalability. That's the key. The scale of your impact determines the scale of your wealth, and it has almost nothing to do with how many hours you personally put in.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because the wealthiest people, they're not leveraging their muscles, they're leveraging their ideas.
Precisely. Think about a coder who builds an app. They might work insanely hard for 6 months, right? Intense focus. But once that app is built, that asset, that piece of code, it goes to work for them.
It can be downloaded 1,000,000 times while they're sleeping.
Exactly. The income generation is completely disconnected from their minute-to-minute labor. And that is the absolute core takeaway from all of this. Trading your time for money is the trap.
It's the path to earning a living, but it's not the path to building wealth.
Never. True wealth begins the moment your ideas and your assets are making money for you, even when you're completely offline.
So that brings us to the architecture of this trap. Because when most of us say we're working hard, we're actually describing something very specific. The sources call it the trap of linear effort.
And we really need to define this because this linearity is the bottleneck. It's the choke point on almost everyone's income.
So unpack that for us. What is the linear model?
It just means there's a direct one-to-one relationship between your input and your output. 1 hour of your effort equals 1 unit of pay.
And even if you're a highly paid consultant charging, say, $500 an hour, it's still linear.
It's still linear. It's a bigger paycheck. But the fundamental mechanic is identical. The moment you stop working, the income stops. You are capped by the laws of physics. There are only 24 hours in a day.
You can't work more than 24 hours. You can't even work 24 hours, really. You have to sleep, eat.
It is the iron law of the linear model. And it's what separates a good income from actual scalable wealth. You cannot achieve exponential growth if you are the only engine.
Okay, and this is where the source material introduces the concept that just shatters that entire model, and that's scalability. The examples they use are so powerful.
They really are. Let's take a classic one, a cab driver, or, a modern gig worker, an Uber driver.
Yeah.
Their effort is maximally linear. Every single dollar they earn is tied to them being in that car,
If
driving.
they take a day off, income is zero. If they get sick, zero. Their personal time is literally their inventory.
Now, compare that to the person who owns the cab company. Or, maybe more relevant today, the person who designed the ride-sharing app.
Right. The owner or the designer is also working hard, no doubt. But they're not working on driving.
No, they're working on strategy, on logistics, on the system itself. Their income is a tiny slice from every single trip that every single driver makes.
So their one-time effort of building the system is now multiplied by thousands of drivers.
Exactly. They are not exchanging their time for money. They exchanged a period of intense focus to build a system that leverages other people's time. It's a completely different game.
And this gets even crazier when you look at the digital examples. The delivery driver, for instance, a physically demanding linear job.
A few hundred deliveries a day, max.
Yeah.
Just physically capped. But the person who architected the delivery app, like a DoorDash?
They spent, what, a year or two writing that code?
Maybe. But that code, that asset, can process 1 million deliveries a day. 1 million transactions happening globally, and the creator doesn't have to lift a single box.
Their effort was front-loaded into the asset, and the asset scales infinitely.
That's the difference between accumulating effort and multiplying it. And it all comes down to one word. The word that, for some reason, we're just never taught in school.
Leverage.
Leverage. That's the missing ingredient. It's the ability to get a massive, disproportionate output from a small, focused input.
Before we move on, I think we need to touch on something, because some people listening might hear this and think we're, I don't know, dismissing the dignity of that linear work.
That is a critical point, and we have to be absolutely clear. This is a strategic and economic analysis, not a moral one. The sources aren't critiquing the value of honest labor. Society needs teachers, nurses, drivers. These jobs are essential and honorable.
Of course.
But from a purely financial perspective, the specific goal of building scalable wealth linear effort is a flawed vehicle. It's just an observation of how the modern economy is structured. The biggest rewards don't go to the hardest linear workers. They go to the most effective deployers of leverage.
So you're saying if your goal is wealth, you can't just run harder, you have to get into a different vehicle altogether.
You can't solve a scalability problem with more efficiency. You have to solve it by introducing leverage. You have to change the entire mechanism.
That sets us up perfectly. If hard work is the fuel but the engine is broken, leverage is the new engine. So let's detail the 4 main types of leverage that the sources lay out. This is the practical blueprint.
These are the 4 pillars, the tools you can use to make that shift from linear to scalable.
Okay, let's start with the one that's most directly related to what we've been talking about,
Yeah.
time leverage.
Time leverage is about using automation, delegation, and systems. The whole point is to create processes that make money for you when you are not physically working.
So how does someone actually build that? Give us a concrete example.
Okay, so in a business, instead of spending, say, 5 hours a day answering the same customer service emails, which is a linear task, you spend 10 hours once building an automated FAQ system or a chatbot.
Or you hire someone for a few hours a week to handle it, delegation.
Exactly. You make that one-time strategic investment of your effort to build a system that buys back your time forever. You're effectively creating more than 24 hours in your day.
You're trading intense, upfront work for long-term freedom.
That's it. You're multiplying your own capacity.
Okay, pillar number 2, skill leverage. This seems a little more straightforward, but what kinds of skills actually create leverage today?
Skill leverage is about having rare and valuable skills. In the knowledge economy, a skill's value is based on scarcity and demand. How hard is it to replace you? Or, increasingly, how hard is it to replace you with AI?
So if 1 million other people can do what you do, the market is naturally going to push your compensation down.
Right. The market rewards unique combinations. The sources talk about being T-shaped,
Yeah.
having broad knowledge across a few areas, but one area of incredibly deep world-class expertise. If you're an expert in, say, AI prompt engineering, and you understand corporate finance, your impact per hour is huge.
Because almost no one else has that specific combination. You've leveraged scarcity.
You've ensured that when you contribute your hour of work, the economic result is massive because your input is unique and critical.
Got it. Now, the third lever, the one everyone sort of knows but maybe doesn't appreciate enough, money leverage.
This one is the most passive, but it also has the longest fuse. Money leverage is just investing and letting the power of compounding do the work for you. The goal is simple. Your capital must be growing on its own, completely separate from your labor.
We hear about compounding all the time, but I don't think people truly grasp its power.
It's because it starts so slowly. It feels like nothing is happening. You invest $1,000, you make 70 bucks, who cares, right? But then that 70 bucks starts earning money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the money it earns starts earning money.
It's exponential curve.
A very slow, then very steep exponential curve. The hard work here is earning the initial capital to invest. But once it's deployed, the money itself is doing the linear work, 20 more 47, forever. That is a truly autonomous asset.
And that brings us to the fourth pillar, which is maybe the most powerful force in wealth creation over the last, 20 years? Code or media leverage.
Absolutely. This is the magic of zero marginal cost of reproduction. It means creating something once a piece of software, a YouTube video, a digital course, an article, that can then be sold or distributed infinitely with no additional effort.
Can you explain that, the zero marginal cost part?
Sure. If you build a car factory, every single new car requires more steel, more rubber, more labor. There's a real cost to making one more unit.
A high marginal cost.
Right. But if you write a piece of software or record a great video course, after that initial effort is done, the cost to deliver it to the next customer or the next 1,000 customers is basically zero. You just click upload. The internet handles the rest.
That YouTube video is a perfect example. You could spend 40 hours making it today, and it could be paying you ad revenue 5 years from now from millions of views.
Your one-time effort is leveraged across a massive global distribution platform indefinitely. Your effort is completely decoupled from your revenue.
So across all 4 times, skill, money, and media, the theme is the same. Leverage is what lets your effort multiply, not just add up.
It's the only way to break the link between your time and your income. Hard work without leverage is just spinning your wheels faster. Hard work applied to building one of these levers. That's the real blueprint.
Okay, this makes so much sense when you lay it out like this, which leads to the big question. If it's this straightforward, why isn't everyone doing it? What's stopping people?
Now we get to the really deep part of this, the psychological barriers. We have to talk about the psychology of the stuck.
And what's the biggest psychological trap?
It's something the sources call the struggle virtue trap. It's this deep, almost moral belief we're conditioned with, that struggle itself is virtuous. That if you didn't sweat for it, if it wasn't painful, you didn't really earn it.
I can totally see that. There's a sense of guilt if success feels too easy. Like if you solve a huge problem for someone in 10 minutes because you have a unique skill, you feel like you should have, struggled more to justify the payment.
Precisely. Yeah. And that bias makes people choose activities that feel like hard work, that are visible and exhausting, even if they're low leverage, and create no lasting value. It satisfies that need to feel like you've put in the hour.
It's confusing being busy with being productive.
Exactly. And that leads to the next piece, which is the strategic lie people tell themselves.
And that is?
That if you just work harder, just apply more sweat, they'll eventually break through. They're trying to solve the problem by increasing the effort, but they're operating on the wrong axis entirely.
And the result of that is just burnout.
It's worse than burnout. It's accelerated exhaustion. You're sprinting on a treadmill, feeling like you're giving it your all, but your financial position just isn't changing because the machine itself is bolted to the floor.
Wow. Okay, so this brings us to that quote from Naval Ravikant, which feels like the perfect antidote to this trap.
It's so powerful. He says, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business.
The ownership mandate. That reframes everything. If you're renting your time, you're a resource. If you own equity, you benefit from the leverage of the entire system.
Ownership is the mechanism that connects your effort to scalability. You have to shift your identity from someone who is paid for their time to someone who is paid by their assets. You own the code, you own the media, you own the portfolio.
And the crazy part is that our whole education system seems designed to prepare us for the exact opposite of that.
It's a massive systemic mismatch. Modern mass education was built for the industrial age. Its purpose was to train reliable, compliant factory workers.
Sit down, be quiet, follow instructions, don't make mistakes.
Exactly. The system rewards conformity. But what does the knowledge economy reward? It rewards risk-taking, creativity, independent thought, visibility, the very things our education system often discourages.
So if you're listening and you feel like you do everything right, good grades, stable job, working hard, but you're still stuck, it's because you were trained for a game that's already over.
You're playing by an old set of rules in a brand new economy.
Raw.
To get ahead, you have to unlearn the compliance and learn to create and to own.
Okay, let's pivot to the solution. Let's make this super actionable. How are people successfully using these levers right now?
Well, we can see it all around us. Take influencers or creators. They are absolute masters of media leverage. They do the hard work up front to build an audience. That audience is their asset.
And then one brand deal, one product launch is magnified a million times through that audience asset.
Right. Their work isn't making one thing for one person. It's creating one piece of content that scales to millions. Then you have coders.
Pure code leverage.
They build a software product once, and that single asset can then serve thousands or tens of thousands of customers at the same time, automatically. The hard work goes into building the system, not fulfilling individual orders.
And what about investors?
They're using a mix of skill leverage, their research, their analysis, to effectively deploy money leverage. Their hard work is in the decision-making, but the actual growth comes from the compounding of their capital, working 24/7.
And then the classic entrepreneur.
The entrepreneur is the ultimate integrator. They use money to buy other people's time. That's time leverage through delegation. Their job isn't to do all the tasks, but to design the system, the organization that does the tasks at scale.
So this is a really important clarification. We are not saying don't work hard. In fact, it sounds like the early stages of building leverage are harder than any 9 to 5.
Oh, they're brutal. Learning the skill, writing the first lines of code, saving up that first chunk of investment capital, that requires incredible discipline and focus. But the key difference is the purpose of that hard work.
You're not working hard to pay this month's bills.
You're working hard to build an asset that will pay your bills for the rest of your life. You're transitioning from spending your effort to investing your effort.
You have to use your sweat equity to build a machine that can eventually run without you.
That's the mandate. Build the machine so you can stop being the motor.
Okay, for everyone listening who is ready to start building their machine, let's lay out the 5 practical steps from the source material, the blueprint.
Step 1 is an honest self-assessment. Audit your skills. You have to look at what you do and ask, can this be scaled? Can it be automated? Or is it easily replaced? If the answer is yes, you have to start developing a rarer, more valuable skill.
Stop trying to be the best at a common skill and start trying to be the only one who can solve a specific high-value problem.
Exactly. Step 2 is the action. Build leverage. You must carve out time every single week, non-negotiable time, that is dedicated to creating a scalable asset. Not for your job, but for your asset. Write code, record a video, start your investment portfolio.
You have to prioritize creating over consuming.
Absolutely. Step 3 is the financial discipline. Start investing early. Doesn't matter if it's small. You have to let the compounding curve start working for you. Time is your single greatest form of leverage with money.
Step 4 is about strategy. Learn ownership. In everything you do, start thinking about how you can own a piece of the upside. That could be negotiating for stock options at your job or starting a side project where you own 100% of the equity.
You have to shift from being a salary taker to an equity holder.
And finally, step 5, which might be the most important, redefine your identity.
This is the psychological jump. You have to stop seeing yourself as a laborer who trades time for money. You have to start seeing yourself as a creator, a builder, an owner, a systems thinker.
Because when you see yourself as a creator, you stop feeling guilty when value creation is efficient and easy. You start celebrating it.
Exactly. And the goal of all of this, the finish line, is that moment when your income is no longer 100% dependent on your direct physical effort. That's the beginning of real freedom.
That is an incredibly powerful and actionable blueprint. So let's bring this all home. What is the one core idea we need to leave everyone with?
We started by questioning if hard work makes you rich. And the conclusion is no. Hard work is just the foundation. It's the entry fee. But without strategy, without ownership, without leverage, it's like running on a treadmill.
A lot of sweat, a lot of motion, but you're not actually going anywhere.
You feel productive, you feel virtuous, but you're locked in place by the linear model. The vast majority of people will spend their lives trying to run faster on that treadmill. The few who get off and decide to build a vehicle instead are the ones who will achieve scalable wealth.
So the old mantra, work harder, is officially dead.
It's obsolete. It's advice that benefits the owners of the systems you're working in. The new mantra has to be, work smarter, build leverage, own your time.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for everyone to chew on this week.
The gap between the financially free and the perpetually stuck isn't about intelligence or even about effort. It's purely a strategic choice. Millions of good, hardworking people will sacrifice their entire lives to the old model because it's what they were taught. Only those who see the game for what it is, a game of ownership and leverage, not sweat, will have a real chance to win.
Strategic choice, not a moral test. That's a powerful idea to end on. Thank you for walking us through this.
My pleasure.